about a story that I want to share with you and our audience. The severe consequence of, violating this moral discipline for young ladies, right, who are doing, thinking, making choices, and made the wrong choice about when a man says, love, I love you, okay? There is a young lady from Thailand. Her name is Haiyan Wang. And she practiced Falun Dafa. And she was persecuted inside of China. Okay. I still recall she told me all the amazing stories she, experienced, true story about herself. I think initially it was a miracle that saved her mother's life. And then because of that miracle, the mother's practiced Falun Dafa. And I think the mother had breast cancer. And then after practicing Falun Dafa, she was totally healed. And then that message spread all over the village. And then many people, because of that, learned Falun Dafa, right? So she came to my office in the 9F, which is on the 9th floor by the botanical garden. Lotus Blossom was little, 2-year-old. And she just came from Thailand as a refugee. She was persecuted inside of China. And then she escaped from China, went to Thailand, and then she was rescued by a rescue program. And she came to Flushing, and she had no place to live. So I provided Haiyan a place to stay for free living in my own office. But let her, I usually don't believe in free stuff, so I gave her responsibility, also be the babysitter for Lotus Blossom when I need her. And sometimes I would go outside to do some activities, right? So that's how I met Haiyan. And Haiyan was young. She was in her late 20s, I think. Young lady, okay, beautiful lady. But because of persecution, one of her eye actually was destroyed, okay? So I had, deep compassion for her. And she's a very wonderful lady. And she really, really believed in Falun Dafa, okay? And she understood that it's important for her to study Falun Dafa teachings and do Falun Dafa exercises. And she's an artist. And she does beautiful drawings. And she designs the hang couture beautifully. I saw one of her designs. I always remember, it's absolutely gorgeous. So she's a talent too. So at the time I offered her to stay with me in my office with the intention to let her together build the whole Elephant Institute. I gave her great trust and hope, right? So one day she brought back an American gentleman. And she said she met him on the street and she was clarifying the truth to him, and her English was not good enough. So she invited him to come to my office so that I could clarify the truth to this gentleman. And his name is Scott. So Scott was the first time invited. First day when Haiyan met Scott, I already met Scott. So Scott was given food, and Haiyan told Scott her stories about practicing Falun Dafa. I was a translator and was a dinner, okay? That's how the relationship was first connected between Haiyan and Scott. And so Haiyan, a couple of times later, mentioned to me that Scott called her and invited her to eat food, something like that. So, I told Haiyan, I said, if you and Scott, if you love him, if he loves you, and the two of you want to have a family, you two should be married. Consider marriage, right? And she said, no, I would never marry him because I'm not interested in him. I'm only clarifying truth to him. Okay? So I have no intention to be married to him. But I can notice she was falling in love with him. I can tell, right? So that's why I told her, I said, Haiyan, be honest to yourself, okay? If you really, really love him, and he also very obviously loves you, otherwise he would not constantly call you and want to invite you out for dinner, right? Giving you flowers and stuff like that, right? Because I know that was happening, right? And she always have a little pink look on her face, and she just turned around and not to answer me, right? So then, 9F encountered trouble. We were forced to shut down our office. So Haiyan lost the free living situation, right? So after she moved out, I had no idea what happened to her. I was also floating around with little loaders and try to resecure, a space of living and working, right? So I lost touch from Haiyan ever since. Okay. And then later, when I heard from someone, a practitioner, I always remembered her. I was worried about her. And whenever I had a new office space, I always remembered Haiyan. I wanted to call her and tell her I have a new space. Come to stay with me, right? I had that kind of love for her, right? I wanted to find her. The phone was not working. I lost in touch with her. But the next time when I heard about her news was from a fellow practitioner. The practitioner says, Haiyan got married with Scott. And I was so happy, right? I was like, wow, Haiyan, finally got married with Scott. And that's such a good news. But she didn't even invite me to her wedding. I'm like, the first time when she introduced me to Scott, she was like, this is my sister. That's how he introduced me to Scott. So I felt that I'm her elder sister. And she has no family in America. And when she get married, she's supposed to invite me. And because I'm the first one that connected she and Scott in my office, right? I did a translation for her to introduce her life story to Scott, right? Am I supposed to be the one to be first informed and give her blessing for her marriage, correct? I felt that Haiyan, how could she try to not to tell me that, right? But I don't have her number, so I was just like, I send my best wishes, right? But then one day was going to the Falun Dafa conference, and I saw Haiyan in front of me, right? So I caught her, I pat on her shoulder. I said, Haiyan! And she was like this, right? I said, Haiyan, why you don't tell me you got married, right? Right? And other people got the candies for your marriage, and I didn't even get candy yet. Give me candy, right? I was really very playful and happy, right? But she looked at me, and she pretended that nothing happened, right? She just walked away, And I was like, Haiyan, why you do that? But I also knew a lot of practitioners was hearing bad news about me, right? Raymond Washington and this and that. So I thought it was like, maybe bad stuff got into her mind and she's now rude to me. So I forgive her. I was like, as long as you're happily married, right? I don't get a candy, but at least I said hello and I gave her blessings face to face, right? So she walked away. And then another time I bumped her in the ladies' room watching Shen Yun show. I was in the ladies' room, right? During the intermission, right? Go to the ladies' room. And I saw Haiyan in the ladies' room. So I can't say, hi, Haiyan. But she always tried to avoid me, right? So it was like, oh, what's really going on with Haiyan? Too bad, Haiyan doesn't want to talk to me anymore, right? Then the next time I heard news is that someone said Haiyan now is in hospital. Okay, in hospital, right? And so I said, why she's in hospital? She's a Falun Dafa practitioner, right? What is the emergency? And the practitioner said she is suffering from late-stage breast cancer. Dying.
Oh, breast cancer.
Dying.
Dying?
Yeah, she was dying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the practitioner also told me that when she was ready to do operation, the hospital want the husband to put signature.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I understand.
when fatal, very important surgery, the family member, immediate family member should put their name down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the practitioner said, Scott says, I'm not putting my name down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not her husband. We never got married. You see? So only then the practitioners learned the truth that Haiyan and Scott actually were never married.
And only live together.
They lived together.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but Haiyan lied to all practitioners that they're married.
Mm-hmm.
And the practitioners, fellow practitioners, received the candies for celebration of their marriage. But do you know why Scott didn't marry her? Scott told the practitioners, I'm not marrying her because when I marry her, half of my property will belong to her.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not planning to give any of my property to her because I worked hard for my money and I'm only willing to leave all my money to my nephew, niece actually, which means his sister's daughter, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So Haiyan died.
Oh, died.
Yeah. Very soon after that news, Haiyan died. And I was in front of the Jewish temple doing my truth clarification with the table booth. And Scott passing by me. And he said, I want to tell you a sad news that Haiyan just died. And I looked at him. There is no tear. There is no sadness on his face. Nothing. Okay? So I said, Scott, you're shameless. You're a bad Jew. You're a rotten Jew. And you stay away from me. And I'm going to tell all Falun Dafa practitioners to stay away from you. You liar. You destroyed Haiyan. That's what I told him. Don't come here to pretend you support Falun Dafa. You're morally corrupt. You're a rotten Jew. That's what I told him. Okay. That's a very sad story. But even a Falun Dafa practitioner, Haiyan, she forgot this fundamental moral discipline. She thought, as long as Scott supported Falun Dafa, I have accomplished my goal of saving him. So if he doesn't want to marry me, that's okay. That's not okay. She died for that. She died for that. There's no reason she would have breast cancer. She's young, she's healthy, she has done everything else right, but just one thing she didn't do right is that she agreed to live with Scott as a couple without blessings of heaven. No marriage. You see? That is how terrible the consequence is. So that's what I mean. Okay, if a lady like Mrs. Lee, who follow a man's demand because of financial reasons, that man doesn't love her. That man is going to destroy her. She will suffer terribly. And at the end, she realized that that man never loved her. Only used her. Understand? Only used her. And Scott never loved Haiyan. He used Haiyan for his sexual pleasure. That's what this man is. He's going down hell. guaranteed. But how could Haiyan, as a Falun Dafa practitioner, didn't stop him from doing wrong? Right? She should have told me that, but she never told me. And now looking back, I understood why I said, Haiyan, why you didn't invite me to your wedding? She had no wedding. Maybe just a little ceremony, but she knew I am smart. She knew that if I would go there, I would make trouble for her about that fake arrangement, most likely. Because I'm so straightforward, you know what I mean? So she ever since did the wrong thing, she would be shameful in front of me. That's why she never wanted to talk to me anymore. Until she died. We never got a chance to talk.